Well, BC's Forest Minister and Langford-Juan-de-Fuca MLA Ravi Parmar is in California right now talking with forestry and wildfire leaders and state lawmakers. No doubt it's a busy trip, but Ravi Parmar has found a quick second to chat with us. Ravi, thanks for taking the time today.
No, you bet, Paul. Hi to all the CHEK listeners out there.
Hey, can you give us an overview of what you're doing and maybe who exactly you're talking to down there?
Yeah, you bet. Many people may be wondering, what am I doing down in Sacramento? The reason I'm down here is a couple of things. First is to strengthen the working relationship we have between CAL FIRE and the BC Wildfire Service. British Columbians know all too well the devastating impacts of wildfires in our community, and we've got a very strong working relationship with CAL FIRE. We know that when we are going to have challenging wildfire seasons, we're going to be relying on CAL FIRE personnel and supports in our communities. And so great to be able to start off on such a positive note. But what really has brought me down here to California is to talk about the Trump tariff and the duties on softwood lumber. There's already 14% duties, Paul, on our softwood lumber leaving Canada, British Columbia, heading down south, with the additional 25% and the anti-dumping duties that are going to be coming, and I expect will be announced in the next week or two. We could be contending with 50 to 55% duties on our softwood lumber. That would be devastating to our forest sector, which has already been going through significant challenges. And I would add, here in California, in particular, talking to lawmakers, to the Building Industry Association, as well as a whole host of other people, this is going to be devastating to British Columbia, but it's going to be just as devastating to people who are just trying to rebuild their homes after a devastating wildfire season. California's got a number of challenges that it's dealing with in terms of the housing crisis, but it's also got a lot of opportunities. It's going to be hosting FIFA, similar to us, next year. It's got the Olympics in 2028. And so I've been making the case to this blue state that they have an opportunity to make some noise to the president and remind him that citizens here in California are going to be paying an awful lot more for their lumber because of these duties and tariff.
I want to talk a little bit more about that blue state in just a second, but you did put out a joint statement yesterday with the California builders, basically saying we will rebuild. Canadian lumber will help rebuild. How much do potential tariffs factor into that?
Hugely. They make a significant impact on the cost of doing business for us in British Columbia, and certainly for those that are trying to build homes. I've developed a very strong working relationship with Dan Dunmoyer, who's the president and CEO of the California Home Builders Association, the Building Industry Association, and he's made it known very clear that no matter what the president has to say, we don't need their trees. They do. They are building millions of units, not just in California, but all across this country. And so he's made it known very clear to me that he's interested in working with me to take our mission and our obligations to fight for our sector to the national stage. We're going to be engaging with the National Home Builders Association as part of this, making the case that let's address this issue once and for all. Let's stop the duties, let's stop the tariff, and let's help build the homes that Californians and all Americans want.
That's all well and good, Minister Parmar, but is there any concern that this is a bit of a moot point, like bigger decisions are being made in Washington and there's not a whole lot that can be done?
Well, look, Paul, I could be sitting on my hands in Victoria, but I felt it was important to be on the ground, engaging with lawmakers, engaging with the Business Industry Association. I've been getting texts, quite a bit just this afternoon as our time is running short here from folks like a local mayor in Southern California who wants to hold a roundtable with myself and their building officials to better understand the impacts that it's going to have. So I think we're going to be coming back. We're going to be having a lot more virtual meetings. We're going to be having a lot more conversations. My work doesn't just stop here in California. I'm looking to North Carolina. I'm looking to Florida, some other red states as possibilities for discussions to make the case. But what I will say is what I've heard loud and clear is a lot of love between California and British Columbia, a lot of love between Americans and Canadians. I've started off many conversations by saying we love California, but we have no interest in becoming the 51st state. And what I've heard here on the ground with every single conversation I've had, Paul, is laughter, but also a lot of embarrassment. A lot of embarrassment that their president would treat their closest trading partner, their closest ally this way.
Well, let's stay there for a second, because I know California's governor, Gavin Newsom, isn't exactly best friends with President Donald Trump. So when you are having these conversations, do people think it's a reality, or are they laughing the 51st state idea off?
Well, hard to say. I just met with Governor Newsom's officials that are responsible for forestry and their natural resources space. And obviously, they're in a very challenging predicament. Democratic governor who's been quite vocal, quite outspoken on the president while they're trying to access dollars to be able to rebuild their community. But at the end of the day, they recognize here in California that the president has kind of made a mockery of this whole situation. And so they want to make the case. And I think they're going to over the course of the next number of weeks and months. I'm really excited about what comes from this mission, what comes from the premier's mission to Washington. I think British Columbia is showing some leadership on the softwood file and this national file, and has made some really good connections. And again, my work doesn't stop here. It doesn't just limit myself to California. I've already started reaching out to lawmakers and to officials in North Carolina, example, a swing state that I think is predominantly Republican right now, where I'm hopeful that I'll be able to have some conversations. And again, make the case that for people who just simply want to rebuild their homes, they're going to have to pay upwards of 20 to 30 to 40% more because of these duties and tariffs. And that's just unacceptable for Americans.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. You mentioned the Canada-U.S. relationship. Canada and USA facing off in the four nations face-off tomorrow night. Are you going to be watching that down in enemy territory?
No, I'm coming home. I'm going to be watching it in Langford on my couch. I can't wait. I was really disappointed and frustrated that the first game happened when I was flying down here.
There you go.
And so I was wearing my hoodie with my Canadian leaf on. I was proudly displaying that. And there was a lot of people on the flight heading down here to Sacramento, Canadians that had Canadian swag on, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah, Minister, maybe just hide a loonie somewhere in Sacramento for us. Minister Parmar, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Will do, Paul. Thanks so much. Take care.